and good afternoon. I am so excited to be here. My name is Jordan, and today we have Mr. Johnny. I'm so excited. He is the young visionary behind Stixx. Can we just welcome him? Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure. Did
How
you say
are
young?
you? Yes.
Yeah, no, I wish, but okay, thank you.
You're welcome. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I love that question, but I also love the question, if you could be a color right now, what would you be and why?
If I could be a color, white.
Why? Why?
I think because of the purity and the honesty of it.
I love that. Well, I love that you chose white, but ironic enough, the club is not white. So that alludes to my next question. Why did you choose the colors purple and gold?
Well, the main colors are actually steel colors. So you have, whether it's gunmetal gray or silver or copper or gold and so on. I just felt like those colors just seem to be a little more masculine without them being overly masculine, so that anybody can feel comfortable in those with those colors around them. So we did not want. I don't want to make anyone feel out of place or anyone feel that they don't belong. And I just felt like those colors are neutral enough, yet vibrant enough for everyone to feel comfortable around them.
Okay. A man of inclusivity. I love it.
Definitely.
Absolutely love it. So congratulations again. The club just opened May 29th. What was that day like for you, if you can run it back?
Chaos, crazy. A lot of things didn't happen the way that they were supposed to.
Sure.
And our furniture never made it. That was supposed to be here, but that was actually an act of God, because if all of our furniture was here and all those people that ended up showing up were also here, it would have been a mess. It really would not have gone as well as it did. Since we didn't have our furniture here and we were able to go out and get some high tops so that it was more casual and people could walk around and greet each other and see each other, it actually made it much more sociable and much easier to maneuver in the same area.
I agree. It was amazing. I mean, I was here just recollecting the day. It was just so surreal just seeing the community that you brought to this area. And that leads into my next question. Why did you choose this area, Thousand Oaks, to plant this place?
For many reasons, some of which are more business related. This area does not have too many cigar lounges or cigar stores that are available. So that was from a business aspect. From the other aspect is it's a really nice city. It's a great location. It's just quiet. I don't like the hustle and bustle of city life. And it just seemed to fit right in my mind. It was more of a feeling than an actual conscious process.
Okay. And I also believe that could be also an act of God, like you stated earlier.
That's what my wife and I always say, whatever door God opens for us, we go through it. If we try something and the door keeps closing, then maybe he's trying to tell us something. We should try something else.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm a firm believer when one door closes or another one opens, the vice versa is happening. When one closes, another door opens.
Always.
And that also leads me into my next question. I know the process of opening this location was something major for you. I know you also had to delay the opening.
Correct.
Because of the furniture. And what was the licensing like getting in this location for you? I mean, what was that? Was it difficult? Was it something you were acclimated with, being an experienced business owner?
Every city is different. So this particular city happens to be much more concerned, and they had certain rules about opening up a cigar lounge, period.
I'm sure.
So we had to go through what they call a special use permit, and it was a process that took many, many months, more than what I expected originally. Thankfully, to the owner of the property, he worked with us so that it didn't cost us as much as it could have cost us, and that helped out a lot. But still, it took a lot longer to continue without any potential of income until we were able to open our doors. In addition to getting that, we had to get a separate license for building the interior, and that was more in line of building a brand new property than it was with just what they normally call tenant improvements.
Okay.
And that took a while, so we had to get those permits as well. So you had construction permits, you had, actually I should say building permits, we had indoor smoking permits, and then you have to go, of course, through the state to get your tobacco licenses and things like that.
Right. I'm sure a long process.
It is.
Sounds
It
like
is.
it. So behind Stixx the brand, who is Mr. Johnny? What started your affinity for cigars? What was your origin story?
Well, I kind of stumbled into cigars. I think I was 26 years old.
Okay.
Somebody gave me a cigar during a party when I was not in a good place. I don't normally drink, and that day I decided I wanted to get drunk because of the situation, and the cigar went well. And the more I smoked the cigar, the more I enjoyed the drink. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try this again. Next week, I go out and I buy a few cigars. I know nothing about cigars, and they just didn't do it for me. So I didn't smoke. A few weeks later, another party, same situation. The same friend gives me a cigar. I said, I explained to him what happened, and he said, well, what cigars did you buy? And I told him, I go, because you realize what I gave you. I said, I have no idea what you gave me. So I gave you a Cuban cigar. It's a Monte Cristo #2. It's like a torpedo.
Okay.
I said, what does that mean? So he explained it to me. So he gave it to me again. He said, try it again. And before I even had a lot of drinks, so I was still sober, I realized, no, this is definitely a different cigar compared to what I was buying in the stores. And that's when I started becoming interested in cigars. At the time, I was also, soon after that, I started traveling due to a particular job that I had with members of the Saudi royal family. And so I had to travel with them a lot in Europe. So I had access to Cuban cigars, and I went, from one cigar a week to two to, I don't want to say how many per day now.
Okay.
And that's how it all got started.
Okay. So I have to ask, are you still friends with the friend who introduced you to it?
I haven't, he moved away,
Okay.
and great guy, amazing guy. I wish he hadn't moved, but haven't talked to him for probably 25 years because we just don't see each other anymore.
And sometimes it just happens like that.
It does just happen like that.
Interesting.
Unfortunately.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I
My
appreciate it. Personally, I also would love to know, where did the name Stixx originate from?
So the name Stixx, actually, I kind of inherited. I have another club. It's also called Stixx, and that's in another city, Woodland Hills, and that was the original one. That one got started in April of 2017, and about a year later, in 2018, I became a member of it when I found out about it. But I was already working on my own cigar line, but I hadn't thought about a name. I hadn't really given any serious thought about a name or a logo or anything like that. And by 2021, I was pretty much ready to start developing my own cigar, going through many blends over the years. The club actually became available. It was owned by multiple people who did not want to necessarily be there anymore as far as ownership.
Sure.
And I made a bid, and I bought the lounge as well as the name and the logo. And that's how Stixx became my brand. But moving forward, I will have additional lines, and those additional lines are going to have different names, most of which are going to be I am more connected with.
Okay.
Because I'm Assyrian, not Syrian, but Assyrian. We are basically the minority Christians of Iraq. That's where I was born. Iraq used to be Assyria. Iraq is a relatively young country. And we have the Assyrian Empire. So I started, and that's between the Tigris and the Euphrates. So when I started researching, I found out that they actually grew tobacco as well. So Assyrians are well known for, they're called the cradle of civilization. So you have the wheel, utensils, tables, chairs, laws, the law of Hammurabi, um, tax collection, government, policing, all of that started there with the
Wow.
Assyrians. And most people don't know that. And we speak Aramaic, which is the language of Jesus Christ. And so I wanted to make that a part of what I'm doing, a part of my passion for cigars. So my next line is actually going to be called Tigress, and it has its own logo. And I'm going to move forward from there for all the future lines.
Okay, I'm getting a history lesson. Thank you for sharing that because, like you said, most people don't know. And I also believe people should know.
There's so few of us that, thankfully, that most of us are proud of our heritage and who we are. And we tend to let people know every chance we get, because not too many people know who we are and don't even realize the significance of the Assyrian people, that everything that we do today started with them. Modern life and modern civilization started with the Assyrians in the Assyrian Empire.
I'm just like speechless. Something that I believe should be taught in U.S. history courses, but it's often skipped over.
Yeah, international history or world history, yeah, but it's taught a little bit more because we are mentioned in the Bible. We are mentioned. So when you get to private schools or more Christian faith schools, you'll read more about the Assyrians. But it's still a very small portion. The main reason it's in the Bible is because Assyrian, first of all, because Jesus Christ spoke the same language, Aramaic. Hebrew was derived from Aramaic. And Assyrians were the first followers where their king said, I'm no longer the king, you need to follow Jesus Christ. And that's sort of how we lost our identity, because he felt like the true king is there and not him.
That's so fascinating. And again, I just want to thank you for sharing that with me.
It's my pleasure, and I love to share that as much as I can.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And speaking of your culture, how do you want your culture and your passion for it to come through your brand and even your future brands to come?
Like I said, I would like to use more of the names that involve Assyrians, that might even be, that are a little bit better known maybe to non-Assyrians, and then tie them together, hoping that it will help get the Assyrian name out and let people, let the non-Assyrians know who Assyrians are.
Okay. And I respect it. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for sharing a part of your culture. So what I also want to know is, which is inevitable in every entrepreneurial career, any person who is risk oriented, what was your mindset when it came to roadblocks and challenges? I mean, even just speaking about the furniture delay and how you saw it as an open door for something that you didn't know you necessarily needed. What was your mindset when it came to the challenges, and what motivated you to keep going and refocusing on your goal?
Good question. The biggest, I think the biggest challenge is self-doubt. The biggest challenge is yourself, not believing in yourself, not being 100% sure you're going to do this or you can do it. Especially when you're married and you have children. I have my wife and my twins, a boy and a girl. They're 24 years old now. But when they're young, and you have to think about, you're no longer thinking just about yourself, you're thinking about them. Because whatever you do affects everyone in your family. That was the biggest challenge. The other challenges are going to come along, whether they're legal, municipal, weather, environment. They're all going to come along, and they're all easy to work with. They're not necessarily easy, but there are solutions. Every problem has a solution. But having self-doubt and not knowing for sure that you're going to make it or not is I think the biggest challenge of all for any entrepreneur, for anybody who wants to go into business for themselves.
Yes, I heard that. Honestly, what kind of legacy do you want your kids to remember about the brand, whether it's this one or the next one? What do you want them to remember, if anything?
I don't really, I really don't mind if they do or don't about the brand. That's not what's important in life. The brand is a brand. What's important is the legacy I'd like to leave them with is I hope when I leave that they will have the memories that are positive memories, and that they will see me and see me as a person who was a good person, a person who did the right things or tried to do the right things. I don't always do the right things. None of us do. I'm imperfect, but at least I tried. And whether or not whatever happens with this brand or doesn't happen, I did my part. I did my best. As long as I can tell them I did my best and they believe I did my best and they can respect that, I'm happy with that.
And you heard it there, kids. If anything, you just listen to him. I absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing that. You talked about doing your part and how you specifically felt led to planting this in this area, in this city. What kind of contribution do you want to have in this community?
So for this particular city, it's not so much a contribution for the city itself. I would like to be a good, law abiding, tax paying entity that will be drawing more people into the city, that will help the city thrive. Obviously, I can't do that by myself, but be a business that will help in that process, to help the city become a better city, to help people have the ability to interact and to network and get to know each other, and just be a positive influence on the overall general communication of the city. But my further, as far as the brand is concerned, as far as moving forward, I definitely want to be able to be in the position to help our number one, our veterans, first responders, the police, fire department. I can never ever imagine doing any of those things for any amount of money. So I have a lot of respect for them, and I hope I'm able to give something back to them for all that they have given us. My second is which I at some point I would like to start is, which I haven't really said to anybody, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever repeated this to anyone. At some point, I would love to have a foundation for the Syrian orphans. We have so many of them that are left behind in Iraq and Syria, because they had to migrate from Iraq to Syria, in Armenia, in all the neighboring countries. They're just spread all over the place. They had to leave their homeland. Parents got killed. Children were stolen. And no one really talks about it. So we had over, I believe it was estimated about 1.5 million Assyrians living in northern part of Iraq during Saddam. And today I think we have about 200,000.
Wow.
The rest were either killed during the ISIS period or displaced now.
Oh my goodness.
So I would like to do something for my Assyrian community as well as my local community.
Well, if I am the first person to hear your dreams and your prayers, thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you.
And I also will pray. And I know that God will grant you the desires of your heart, because that will just help so many generations to come.
that's in God's hands. If that's what He wants, I believe it will ultimately happen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We're in a sacred space. So
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. And as for someone who's not well adjusted with the cigar life, but loves a good lounge, what life or what kind of role do you want music and art to play in your space here?
Well, I love music and I love art.
We can tell.
Yeah, so
It's
I
evident.
pretty much designed this place myself, and this this back wall is I literally put it together one piece at a time by myself.
Really? Oh, we need to get a close up
Yeah,
of that.
I all of
That's
this
incredible.
piece by piece. It took me I think it was about maybe I don't know how many hours, but it was over a at least a 6 to 8 week period
Wow.
to finish it. And in music, I love music. I love all kinds of music. I listen to every genre you can imagine. If you look through my playlist, you will see everything. I also love Assyrian music, of course. International music. I listen to Arabic music. I listen to Persian music. I listen to. I actually have some, believe it or not, Japanese songs that I like to listen to.
I like Japanese music
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
honestly.
certain.
It's good.
It is. They have some
Mhm.
pretty good things. And it's just a matter of the mood. I believe definitely there's a place for art in life. It brings joy to people, and even more so music. But it's not something that uh, I am. I consider myself being good at or being a part of. So I leave that for other people, and I just enjoy it.
Okay.
And same thing with music. So we make sure that we have music here at all times. Whenever people want to, we have a system where they can actually play their own music and patch into it. If not, I usually have music going on all the time, different kinds of music. But that would be appropriate. And but yeah, I mean, if I'm not listening to a particular podcast, I have to have music on.
Okay. I'm personally offended. You said that you don't think you are good at art.
Depends, I guess, on your definition of art. I
Okay.
can't paint. I can't draw. I can't. You know, I'm more of a. I've studied architecture, so I went 2 years of 2 years of schooling for architecture. So when it comes to being precise and specific and drawing things out and laying them out or doing working on blueprints and things like that, not a problem. But when it comes to what I would consider art, which is maybe a free form or in some cases abstract, it's not something that I believe I'm capable of producing where it would be or would have any particular benefit to the general audience.
Okay. Well, I disagree respectively.
Okay.
But because I just look at this wall and I just know you have to have the mindset to one, just piece certain things together, just color wise, just even the build and the setup of this place. I just see your hand in your artistic work.
Well, I everything that you see here, well, I mean, you are correct. I did design everything, but that's more of a I guess you see it as an art, and I see it as decorations, as a
Okay.
way of, remodeling or redecorating a place. I do enjoy that quite a bit.
I can
This I did
tell.
not enjoy doing.
No,
No,
really.
it
Why?
took it was fun for about 2 hours.
And then after the
After
two
that
hour
was,
part.
I don't have the patience for it.
Okay.
It took a lot out of me doing this. It took a lot out of me
It's kind of like
because I couldn't
Tetris,
stop.
no?
I couldn't stop. I couldn't
Okay.
stop. And because all these boxes and all these things, they're all different sizes and different shapes,
Right.
and trying to put them together to where you don't have gaps is. I had, I think, about 300 or 400 boxes laid out on this floor, and
Wow.
just kept bringing different things and sticking them different places. And also, you don't want certain colors to be next to other colors, and you don't want it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all of it was just it was maddening, and I don't want to do that.
Okay. Well, a one of
I'm
one
never doing this
piece.
again.
That's okay. You don't have to, because a one of one piece, I mean, it's priceless.
Thank
It's
you.
absolutely priceless. So I want to transition because I see you're smoking. Is this a Cuban right now?
The answer is no.
Okay.
The answer
So,
that I have to give is no.
okay.
This is my own line. This is part of my own line. This is actually the very first cigar that I introduced. It's called we called El Primero, the
Okay.
premiere. So it takes a little bit of explanation because the reason I got into non-Cubans is because at towards the end of the 20th century and the beginning of 21st century, the the Cuban cigars seemed to, at least for me, it's my opinion, they seemed to not have the same quality.
Okay.
And when I researched it a little bit more, I found out that it's because, at least that's what I was told. Again, nothing scientific. I was told that they had changed some of their processes. When you normally plant when you have a plantation, they usually break it up in 3 or 4 pieces. So they'll do 1/3 or 1/4 of it. They'll plant it. When they do the harvest, they will plant the one next to it and let that one sit. And when that harvest, they'll plant the third
Okay.
one after. And when that harvest, then they go back to the first one. So it's been sitting there for 9 months to a year,
Okay.
getting its minerals back and just letting the soil, letting the land just develop and get its natural resources back. The demand had gone up so high is that they decided to just go ahead and plant the whole thing, harvest and plant immediately so they can get as much tobacco out of it as they can. In addition to that, you normally allow leaves to dry over time,
Okay.
and they started using um, certain what's the word I'm looking for? Like lights, certain lights, red
Like
lights, and
LED lights or
not
not
LEDs,
LED.
but the heat lamp lights
Okay.
type thing to help speed up the process of them uh, getting to the point
Okay.
where they turn brown and they're ready for to make cigars out of. And normally, once the cigar is made, even after it's gone through the process, it's probably lost. These leaves have ammonia in them. They've lost most of their ammonia, but you still want a cigar to sit after it's been made for at least 6 months to a year before you actually
Wow.
sell it to somebody.
Okay.
And that was being ignored. So, and along with other things. So, with all those things, it changed the quality, changed the flavor of the cigar. So, I started looking towards other things. And in 2007, I ran into a cigar, which shall remain nameless. And I really enjoyed the cigar. And it was different. And I was like, okay, I can see something. Now I finally found something after years of looking that is not Cuban, but I'm really enjoying.
Okay.
Very expensive cigar, more expensive than Cuban cigars. This was in Europe when I ran into it. They only sold it in Paris and Geneva. And by the time I got back to the United States, I had bought everything they had in Paris. That's a long story. And I realized that I can't keep smoking these. They're just way too expensive. So I decided to contact the owner. I found the owner,
Okay.
some Swiss French socialite, who, when I approached him to see what we can do with bringing his cigars to the United States, the short answer is he basically said, "I'm not going to send any cigars to the United States. I don't want to do any business in the United States." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because Americans are too stupid to understand my cigars." And I said, "Okay, I didn't expect that."
Yes, I'm sure you didn't.
So I kind of ignored it, moved away from them a little bit more, and smoked more of the Cubans. But I did try to figure out a way to get to that blend. And that's when I had pretty much made up my mind that at some point I want to have my own cigar. But I wanted it to be as good as that,
Okay.
if not better. And it took some time to get to that point. So ultimately, I found the actual cigar blender, cigar maker, factory, plantation where these cigars were being made.
Wow.
And I used them, and that's where my cigars are made.
just casually finding these owners.
It wasn't casual, and it took 10, 15 years.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh, so this is like a long, elongated story.
Yes. So
Okay.
I didn't actually find them until I believe it was October of 2020, and I started looking in late 2007, trying to figure out how to get who is it and how to get to them.
And so, for someone who's not maybe familiar with the palette of a cigar taste, what inquires a poor taste and a better taste? Or you say that the one cigar that you had was one of your favorites. What made it so good?
So cigars, like wine, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. But the main things for me are the when you don't smoke on a regular basis and you're only smoking once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever, the more important part for most people seems to be how it draws, meaning how hard do you have to puff on it to get
Okay.
the smoke, and how it burns, whether it burns evenly or not. More of more of not so much the flavors, but the way that it burns.
Okay.
But the more you get to smoke them, and there's a thing it's called retrohale, where I let the smoke I let it go into my sinuses and not my nose. Not all the smoke, just enough to get a flavor for it.
Okay.
That's where you actually start realizing what the different flavors are and how one cigar is different from the other. The one thing that I don't like, for me personally, is if it leaves a bitter taste in the back of my throat.
Okay.
So that's number one. If it's got a bitter taste that it leaves behind. A lot of times it's because it's a young cigar. The ammonia hasn't completely dissipated from the cigar. The second thing is if it has any type of sweetness to it. And I don't mean like a sugar sweetness, but sweetness similar to like a bourbon that has that's a little bit sweeter and the aftertaste than a rye, for example. Those are more important to me. And then you have the strengths. The strength is not so important because it's the flavor to me, but a lot of times they go hand in hand.
Okay.
So the more complex flavor, the stronger the cigar seems to be. It doesn't have to be. So if you allow the cigar to sit 3 or 4 or 5 years, the strength goes away, but the flavor starts to come out even more. So
That's
that's why,
cigar.
yeah. But most cigars, if they're more than 10 years, I actually don't like them anymore because not only have they lost their strength, but they start to lose their flavor, in my experience. However, I have had cigars. I do have a particular cigar that I purchased that I currently have that was made by the other maker, but they did not, for various reasons, they had the cigar maker age it for them.
Okay.
But there was a change in ownership, and the new owners did not want to pay for them. And there were only 1,000 cigars, 1,000 Stixx. I found out by accident because while I was there working on my own line and decided I'm going to buy them. So I bought them all. So I have those, and they are phenomenal cigars. They used to be sold for 96 euros in Europe each.
Wow. Out there, I don't know the equivalents of
So,
USD.
so based back then, so 96 euros would have been about $120.
Okay. I thought so. Okay.
So I have them. I bought them at a great price. And I sell them to people that I know for basically what I paid for them.
Wow. And you still
Because
have
they're not my cigars.
we used to have a majority of them?
I have one. They had aged 1,000 cigars, and I bought the entire aged portion of them.
Okay. Wow. And that leads me to my next question. Let's say someone were to walk into your lounge one day, they're completely oblivious about anything about cigars. How do you introduce new smokers to this life, or if they're just interested in
So,
starting?
so the first question is, do they drink wine, or do they drink spirits, and what do they drink? What do they like, and which one do they like the most? It starts telling me a little bit about their palate as far as whether they want to, if they have a stronger palate or a lighter palate.
Okay.
And then I'm able to direct them into certain cigars and see which one they prefer. Having this new location also has a retail portion, which we haven't had in the past. But the retail, I felt very strongly that it can't just be Stixx cigars, because just like wine, as we said earlier, or food, different people have different palates, and I did not feel that it was appropriate to dictate to them what they must smoke if they want to be here. So we carry just about every premium cigar that's out there, with an exception of a couple which we are working on getting. So when I make them a recommendation, I do show them which cigar from Stixx would probably work best for them.
Okay.
But I also show them which other brands and which other lines from those brands would probably work best for them. And then they can make whatever decision they want.
Okay. I love that from the beginning, from the colors of that you decided to contribute to this place to just what you carry in the cellar, just knowing that you are all about accommodation and including what anyone else's palate can be, knowing that there's a variety out there. So I really commend you for that, because I'm
Thank you.
sure there are so many people that come in here that may not know what they're looking for, but you give them an option to even look.
Well, I would appreciate the same in reverse if the tables were turned. So I always try to act and behave the way that and treat people the way that I want to be treated.
And that's commendable as well, because even though that may be common sense now, it's not always common. But I respect that as a business owner. So thank you for sharing that core value across the board. 'Cause that's
Thank you for saying
immediately
that.
what I felt being in here the first time. Just your capacity to care for people is absolutely there, and it's recognizable. And I just want to thank you for that.
Wow, thank you. I didn't expect that.
Well, I appreciate you. And so lastly, I just want to ask, what's next for you? Hopefully there's a vacation coming soon.
Oh God, I've been working 7 days a week for, I can't remember for how long now, but I can't stop now because it's getting close time to actually do an actual national launch
Okay.
of the Stixx cigars. I haven't really launched it. It's been local so far, and I'm working on doing that launch along with my new line, which is the Tigress line that I
Okay.
referred to earlier. And that's going to be an elevated line. So that's my goal right now, is to work on that and try to make that happen by, I hope this year, but to be realistic, I hope within a 1 year period.
Okay. That sounds realistic too. I'm sure it will work out the way it's meant to.
From your mouth to God's ears.
I heard that. And I know also, just being so wise and full of knowledge as you are, are there any words of encouragement that you would give young business-minded people or starting entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs, for just starting something rooted in culture and passion as much as you have laid the groundwork here?
Well, being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. And if you're going to get into it, the first thing you need to work on is yourself. You have to be mentally prepared. You have to be willing to give up a lot. I gave up a lot. I went from making a lot of money working for other people, but being miserable, to not making any money for a very long time, but being very happy. But again, You have to be, you have to work on yourself. You have to work on your mental state, your confidence, and it has to be in something that you are passionate about. Someone might say, well, cigars are a pretty silly thing to be passionate about. Well, yeah, maybe, but it is. It doesn't matter if it's silly to other people. What matters is what it means to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. And if you can be passionate about it, and you can work on yourself and work on your self-confidence, and imagine yourself, what you're going to do and where you're going to be 5 years and where you're going to be in 10 years. And don't ever lose that dream.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever lose that vision. But also realize that there's going to be pitfalls. There's going to be difficulties. You may have to sleep in your car for a month. You may have to do a lot of things that you don't have to do if you just go and work for somebody else. But if it's in you, then you can't look at those things that are, if you're not making enough money, if you're not living in the right place, if you have to call a friend and sleep on their couch, whatever it takes.
Right.
If you don't look at those things as negative things, as bad things, you're good. But if you look at those things as bad things, then you're just going to hurt yourself in allowing yourself to think that you cannot make it. You have to understand those things are building up your character so that when you do make it, you can appreciate it more. You need that in order to properly appreciate the ultimate goal once you achieve it.
Well said. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That was very insightful. And I'm taking that advice for myself, honestly. So thank you so much. Thank you for the time that you gave me. Thank you for
allowing me the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, honestly. Thank you for just opening your doors to just this moment and just opening a snippet of your mind to us. And we just get to see a speck of your journey, but I know there's so much more in store for you. So again, I just want to say congratulations on the opening, and congratulations for just whether or not you see this as a great goal that you had or a big accomplishment. From my eyes to yours, I see that you've made it. And I'm super proud of the man that you are. And I'm grateful that I can sit here and have this conversation with you. And I just thank you so much for your time.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
God bless you too. And before we go, where can we find you? Where can we tell the people to link you? Your social medias, anything?
So we're still working on a few things because we're going to be changing a few things around. Currently, we have a certain website. So for the private club, we have Stixx.org. So www.stixx.org. I also, if you want the actual cigars, you go to House of Stixx with no hyphens or anything, .com. And that's where you will find the actual cigars if you'd like to order them. And we do have a social media presence, which we are currently working on expanding now that I'm ready to launch our next line of cigars. And that's under House of Stixx. I guess I'm not really sure how you put that in there, but
I'm
as
sure
far as like
it'll be
hashtag House of Stixx or whatever it is, I'm not very familiar. I allow other people to deal with that. Hey, it's my age. And yeah, I mean, those would be the main ways. Or they can just email us directly at info@stixx, stixx.org.
Okay.
And we'll be more than happy to reply to anybody who has any questions whatsoever.
Perfect. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you again for your time. I so appreciate you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Thank you.